The United States government operates the most complex and highly targeted digital infrastructure on Earth. The network spans over 100 civilian agencies, the Department of Defense, and the global footprint of the intelligence community. The stakes attached to this infrastructure are immense. Supported by an annual IT budget exceeding $130 billion, it connects critical endpoints ranging from the Internal Revenue Service and the Veterans Health Administration to secure military command networks. Despite massive funding and continuous hardware procurement, the system is perpetually bottlenecked. High-priority traffic drops exactly when it is needed most, causing severed telehealth consultations, crashing citizen tax portals, and delaying tactical intelligence in the field. The root cause of these failures is not a lack of raw bandwidth. The entire architecture relies on legacy, reactive network protocols that physically cannot handle modern data surges. Standard routing protocols like TCP/IP and BTP operate on a strict best effort model. TCP/IP stands for Transmission Control Protocol/Internet Protocol, and BGP stands for Border Gateway Protocol, which are the foundational rules determining how data moves across the Internet. They are inherently reactive, attempting to route data and only responding to network congestion after it has already occurred. This diagram illustrates a top-of-rack hardware switch experiencing a volumetric microburst. When a sudden surge of traffic hits the network, like taxpayers checking stimulus status or an aircraft transmitting heavy sensor data, the physical data buffer inside the switch rapidly fills to capacity. Once that buffer hits its physical limit, it overflows. The hardware switch has no choice but to blindly drop incoming packets of data. This transitions into a jagged sawtooth line chart, detailing the immediate consequence, the TCP sawtooth effect. The network detects the dropped packets and panics, aggressively halving its transmission window. This triggers a staggered, messy retransmission of the lost data, inducing massive latency. This specific mechanical failure at the hardware switch level is exactly what severs telehealth connections, forces citizens into a cycle of refreshing crashed portals, and fractures military kill chains. Eradicating this friction requires replacing reacting hardware views with a mathematically deterministic digital fabric. The Predictive Tensor Control Plane, or PTCP, completely discards the legacy TCP model. This geometric visualization represents network traffic patterns mapped by pattern-of-life tensor train, or POLTT, mathematics. POLTT establishes a predictive baseline based on historical data. By ingesting real-time telemetry, this mathematical envelope anticipates volumetric surges before they hit a wire, perfectly accommodating incoming traffic spikes. The network stops guessing when congestion will happen. It calculates the precise future state of the traffic, completely eliminating the element of surprise and preventing the buffer from ever reaching capacity. Predictive mathematics cannot stop physical congestion without a mechanism to execute precise control at the absolute edge of the network. PTCP executes this control using the Extended Berkeley Packet Filter, or eBPF. eBPF is a technology that allows custom programs to run securely and natively inside the core operating system kernel. This embeds the predictive intelligence directly into the Linux kernel of federal endpoints. This diagram shows how eBPF agents use the predictive baseline to pace outgoing data. Instead of flooding the wire, the agents slot individual packets perfectly into available network microgaps within the existing stream. Applying this to high-stress civilian events entirely eradicates buffer overflows. During Medicare open enrollment or sudden disaster relief surges, pacing traffic at the kernel level prevents switches from being overwhelmed. For the Department of Veterans Affairs, this interleaving guarantees zero-jitter clinical-grade telemedicine. Medical telemetry and high-fidelity video route flawlessly over shared, highly congested wide-area networks without queuing delays. Moving control to the kernel level replaces the brittle, crash-prone systems citizens currently navigate with a high-availability service architecture. The Department of Defense faces an even stricter mandate. The Joint All-Domain Command and Control Initiative, or J.2, requires certain data fusion across land and sea, air and space, and across cyberspace. In contested environments, fusing massive bursts of intelligence data, such as radar telemetry from an F-35 fighter, regularly overwhelms tactical satellite crosslinks. The eBPF agent predictively paces this sensor data, so it instantly clears the optical link. The tactical kill chain compresses to its physical minimum, bounded only by the speed of light, free from the delays of TCP retransmission. If an adversary uses electronic warfare to jam GPS signals, military networks lose precision time synchronization, instantly causing catastrophic packet collisions across the network. PTCP counters this loss using algorithmic drift compensation and hardware holdovers, specifically utilizing local chip-scale atomic clocks to maintain exact time without external GPS signals. If synchronization is severed, the system autonomously widens the eBPF pacing envelopes. The network gracefully degrades overall throughput to perfectly protect and deliver core command and control data. The architecture mathematically guarantees the delivery of critical military telemetry. It ensures unbroken operational continuity and tactical superiority, even in a dark sky where airspace is completely denied. This determinism extends directly into cybersecurity. The Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency is tasked with defending the federal enterprise against state-sponsored advanced persistent threats. A volumetric distributed denial of service, or DDoS attack, relies on flooding a network with garbage data. Under PTCP, this flood mathematically violates the established POL-TT predictive baseline. As this diagram illustrates, the system instantly recognizes the mathematical violation. eBPF agents drop the malicious packets at the Express Data Path, or XDP, layer. XDP is a high-performance network data path that intercepts packets before they even reach the host operating system. State-sponsored actors also frequently exploit vulnerabilities in BGP to reroute and intercept sensitive government data. Visualized here is the singular value decomposition equation, used to factorize a matrix and isolate its core structures. Federal orchestrators use this to create a cryptographically validated global truth. Spoofed external routing announcements are instantly blackholed because they register as mathematical impossibilities. Federal threat mitigation shifts from a reactive game of identifying signatures into a closed system governed entirely by unforgeable, perfect cryptographic truth. Mathematical determinism resets the spending requirements of the $130 billion federal IT budget. To absorb unpredictable reactive traffic spikes, federal agencies heavily over-provision their contracted telecommunications circuits, paying for massive bandwidth they only utilize during brief microbursts. This dual bar chart compares standard network utilization against predictively interleaved traffic. By pacing packets exactly into network gaps, the government can safely drive existing leased fiber and satellite links at double their current utilization without risking congestion. Maximizing existing optical backbones allows agencies to defer massive, highly expensive physical circuit upgrades. The efficiencies continue into federal cloud environments. Eliminating the TCP sawtooth reclaims up to 15% of idle compute time by keeping CPUs and GPUs fed with perfectly paced data, which also drastically reduces egress bandwidth bloat. This ends the cycle of reactive hardware procurement, moving the government toward a model of software-defined yield optimization. The final financial lever comes from shifting volumetric threat mitigation natively into the eBPF kernel layer. Because endpoints drop malicious data at the network edge, agencies can deprecate highly expensive legacy perimeter defense appliances and deep packet inspection bottlenecks. Deep packet inspection is a process that examines the detailed data part of a passing network packet to detect non-compliance or viruses, but it notoriously slows down network traffic. This layout displays the aggregate result. Across a 3-year timeline, combining CapEx deferment, cloud compute optimization, and security hardware deprecation, yields a conservatively estimated $13.8 billion in direct taxpayer savings. Continuing to rely on buffer-bloated 1980s network protocols costs billions in wasted hardware. It is a national security vulnerability and a breach of public trust for citizens trying to access critical services. By architecting a deterministic, predictive digital ecosystem, the United States government removes the friction between the citizen and the state and secures its position in next-generation infrastructure.